Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Guest today, Shane Heller. Shane, please tell us where you're calling in from and what you do for a living with beer pressure.
I'm calling in from St. Petersburg, Florida, just outside of Tampa.
Awesome.
And yeah, I'm the co-founder of Beer Pressure. We basically design and sell drinking games.
That's amazing, man. So, I mean, how do you get involved in a space like this? I mean, I can imagine it's probably just like a, like a conversation among friends. You have these like grand ideas, and then eventually you just kind of have this, catalyst to actually put 2 feet in and really create something. So, can you tell me a little bit about that story leading up to actually creating the brand and, creating a full-blown business this way?
Yeah, so basically, I was just on TikTok one day, and I came across like a video of this girl that created a drinking game for her and like her friends. And she basically just created on like a note cards, and everyone in the comments went viral. Was like, "Oh my god, like I would totally buy this." Like, dang, that's such a good idea. And she didn't like do anything with it. So then me and my buddy sat down and like, let's create a drinking game. And we did, played with our friends. They loved it. And that's pretty much the start of it.
That's so awesome. So I know obviously Beer Pressure is one of the 4 games I can see on the site now. So how long was that kind of the only one? And how long did it take you before you have all these other ones? And I know I mentioned to you offline, I've actually played Text or Drink. That was a really fun day. I remember I have great memories from that. So how did you get the idea for, the game that is Beer Pressure? And then tell me a little bit about, your like kind of R&D process and building the rest of these games through the business this way.
For sure. So Beer Pressure basically is kind of just your typical drinking game. You take turns drawing a card. It'll tell you a drink if and most likely to an activity. And then that was probably our only game for about a year. And then we kind of launched our couples game because we saw there's a huge niche for couples games. So we did that and kind of just, designing games. Then I had an idea for a football one because I love football. So did that. So it kind of just come to you, I guess.
Yeah, that's very cool. And I guess I'm curious too with like a product like this. I mean, you obviously see this kind of stuff in like, the big game section at Target. There's usually like a, drinking game, kind of like a little section in there. Where do you kind of maintain your most like your heaviest revenue channels or something like this? Do you sell to kind of like, retailers like the Targets and Walmarts that are out there? Are you doing a lot of D2C? Can you kind of break that down for me?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think Target's the goal for every game maker. That'd be awesome. We're not in it, but we're basically majority DTC and on our website, and then we're also on Amazon, Walmart.com, then some small online retailers. And then we're also on like stuff like TikTok Shop and stuff like that. That's been huge. And then within the past year, we actually did get into Barnes & Noble for our
cool.
football game, the last leg. So that's been pretty cool. That's in, I think there's over 600 stores nationwide. So a little bit of both, but mainly online still.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And what has your experience kind of been with TikTok Shop? That's been a really interesting conversation other podcasts I've had on. I mean, TikTok in and of itself is kind of like the Wild West as far as like social media goes for building a business. What has your kind of experience been with, generating revenue through TikTok Shop? Has it been kind of like sporadic, or I'm just curious. I get a lot of differing kind of opinions and experiences through that. I know it's relatively new as well. So
yeah, so like we got on TikTok Shops like in the very beginning of like Q4, and like we were like didn't really care about it or like didn't know about it, and then we finally hopped on it, and thank God we did. It's been awesome. It's definitely been huge for our business, but it's definitely been sporadic. But I mean, it's hard to tell sometimes where all the orders are coming from when we're doing so many different things with TikTok. I mean, we have over 700,000 followers on TikTok. Wow. But that's combined. We have like a TikTok page for like each of our games, for Beer Pressure, Dizzy Date.
Still impressive. Yeah, that's incredible.
Like 400,000 itself. So we're constantly pumping out content. For us, it's consistency. I mean, some of these accounts we're posting 4 times a day on each. So we definitely get a ton of organic sales from this following, which is awesome. But then we're also running TikTok ads as well, which for the most part are good. And then we've also been doing like the TikTok affiliate program. So we're constantly sending out free samples to affiliates. So, I mean, there's so much we're doing with TikTok, but it's been awesome for the most part.
Yeah, that's amazing. And yeah, it's just been so interesting, like the way it just kind of seems the general experience on TikTok. I mean, I'm sure you've seen people, they get like 10 to like 30 million views on a video. You pull up their profile, but they still only have like 500 followers, and the rest of their videos have like 10 to 12 views. So it seems to be very like more of like a sprint thing for a while, and then it kind of falls off in a lot of people's experience. It seems to be. But it seems like you've been kind of consistent in your success on TikTok Shop. So
yeah, and then kind of like what you were saying with these like viral videos, it's like before TikTok Shop was a thing, or like the affiliate program where you could send, samples to these people that have 10,000 followers or even less, or, not hundreds of thousands or a million followers, where you're paying, hundreds of dollars for a post or $1,000
Right.
for a post. And it's like people were still thinking this was like Instagram or something. And either way, when you're spending these hundreds of dollars on a post, you're still hoping for a viral because this person that has hundreds of thousands of followers, they're averaging 10,000 views, if that. Like some of them, it's like the rates they're charging just don't make sense. That's why it's
Yeah.
so out like the TikTok shop where it's like purely just commission based.
Yeah,
Which
that's really interesting. That's what this other gentleman had on a couple few days ago was saying that he doesn't even post any of his own content. He basically just exists entirely through those affiliate programs. And I like that they're making it more accessible to people who aren't like necessarily like some of the biggest out there that can be very expensive. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And the other thing that he mentioned to me that I'm curious about your experience with this is basically said that he said that basically that they were doing a subsidy through TikTok Shop, like any new customers buying through the TikTok Shop, there's like basically 20% off anything on the store. Is that still something that's going on?
Yeah, so they were doing that for like the first, basically all of like Q4, they were doing that. And they also like weren't charging any fees at all for like selling on it. And they were even
That's awesome.
for a while there, we weren't even charging shipping because we wanted these TikTok orders, saw everyone else was getting free shipping. So we had free shipping.
Mhm.
And then we realized, oh shoot, TikTok's subsidizing this. So let's charge $5 for shipping. That's another five. There's still free shipping for the customer. That's another $5 per order we're getting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they still run a bunch of sales and they definitely do some promo specifically for us. I mean, we have reps at TikTok, like for the toys and games category and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for Q4 next year for them to really pump this out for like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, because that was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so how did you get in touch with somebody at Barnes and Noble? I mean, that's a pretty unique one to be in. I mean, it makes sense, right? Like I could definitely, I can imagine this exact box that I'm looking at on the website, like right in there and like exactly where it'd be in my Barnes and Noble. But how did
Yeah.
you kind of get in touch with somebody like that? I'm always interested to hear, like different retail relationship kind of building stories. Cause some people, they go really, really viral on social media is very popular. They have like, buyers looking to reach out to them to get it in stores. Was that the case with yours, or did you do a little bit of like cold outreaching to, some buyers at some of these stores?
It was definitely cold outreach to these buyers at these stores, specifically like Barnes and Noble.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to start in the process that way, going back and forth and just going from there and figuring it out. I mean, there's definitely nothing cooler than, like I said, going into a Barnes and Noble and seeing your game, especially when it's like right by the checkout or something. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But
No,
yeah, I mean, definitely getting into retail.
Mhm.
We're definitely in some like mom and pop shops or boutiques, whatever you want to call them, like all throughout the country, or like
Right.
liquor stores, because we're on like fair.com. So we'll have like purchase
Okay.
through that, but nothing crazy. But yeah, I mean, definitely navigating retail for the first time was definitely an experience. It was really stressful, but I mean, glad I did it. I want to keep doing it. When we're trying to do it all ourselves, because that's what people told us to do, which I'm happy we did, learn the entire process. Then when you get hit with like the vendor guidelines, it's over 100 pages of stuff you got to read. And if you mess up one thing, it's going to cost you.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it worked out.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, and then I guess I'm just curious, going forward, you obviously have the 4 games now. Are you looking to just kind of like double down on your efforts through social media and getting into retail with these as they exist now? Or are you looking to continue to expand on these, or is just kind of like taking it as it comes?
So, I mean, yeah, definitely looking to expand in all avenues. I mean, retail definitely does not make up a huge percentage of, our revenue. Would love to increase that and try to get into other stores and stuff like that. But we definitely have talked to other stores trying to get into there. But yeah, really just growing in all directions. And right now, I think we just do want to focus on the SKUs we have now. But we definitely, we have SKUs that we've already designed, have samples of that we're just kind of just waiting to launch. But
right.
Yeah.
No, that's super cool. And as I'm sure being in the space, even with like physical games, one of the other big areas that I find I always like find myself checking is like my app store for like fun games when we're like trying to find something to do. Maybe we don't have a deck of cards and nobody has like a cool like fun game like these are. Have you considered like getting into kind of that space with like all the obviously like feedback and things we've learned about the space and what people enjoy, what they look for in these types of games, and maybe doing like a phone based game that way? Have you given that any thought?
I've given it a lot of thought.
Mhm.
So like my background literally comes from apps.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I've had one designed for a couple of years now, but just I don't know, I kind of just want to keep pushing the physical games. I don't know. I mean, it definitely interests me, but I don't know. I can charge $25 for a game. I can charge a couple bucks for an app.
Yeah.
But obviously the conversion rate would probably be a lot higher. But I don't know. I mean, I'm loving Amazon, just having the games on there. So I think right now mainly just the physical games.
No, that's awesome, and it's fair. It's a whole like different animal too. I mean, navigating existing on the the iOS app store and Android and Google Play and all that kind of stuff. So, as you're experiencing growth, still looking to get more into retail, it's a good thing to have in the vault. For sure. I know that sounds like you have something ready to go. Maybe if that opportunity presents itself at a better time. But no, it's super cool. So let me just ask you. It's one thing I always love to ask everybody that comes on the podcast. Obviously, you've had some success here now. So taking everything you've learned along the way, leading up to up to 2024 here. If you go back to the beginning and give yourself any piece of advice, or even a piece of advice you would give a different entrepreneur looking to get into this kind of space, or just off on their first venture project, what kind of advice would you give to yourself?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I'd probably just say you're going to be stressed out and it's okay. Or if you feel like you're not going to figure something out, or how is everyone else able to do this, but you're not, everyone else is feeling that way too. I mean, from the first time you have to figure out how to order a sampler. Next thing you know, you got to figure out how to, do LTL freight shipments from overseas, or now you're buying shipping containers, or now you're trying to get into retail and there's 100-page guidelines you have to read and figure out. Or now you're making a transition to a 3PL, or, taxes. How do you figure out those? I've never even heard of sales tax. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. But just that there's going to be times that, you're not going to know how to do something and you're going to figure it out. But then, those times are going to keep on happening. It still happen today. And then probably the next piece of advice would probably just be the highs are high and the lows are low. You're going to have months where you're just killing it and you're not going to remember the low months. And then you're going to have months that are just terrible. And then you got to remember that months that were high, and just keep grinding.
Yeah, no, it's so true, and it's something I hear often when I ask that question. But even still, I mean, every time, from everybody's different perspective, just to hear that over and over. Anybody who's listening to the podcast who might be looking to get into a venture project like this, or anything like that. I mean, it's just important to know that, like, yeah, it's gonna suck sometimes, but believe me, everybody else is going through that too. And I feel like I say this a lot on the podcast, but it just makes me laugh every time. So many people, when I ask that question, they always turn around and say, just don't do it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. And then it's always like, obviously followed with like, no, of course not. I'm kidding. I would never change anything for the world. But it was just funny because you do feel like that sometimes. But I think what makes an entrepreneur is just, fighting through those times. And, the more I think we can get that out there, that, this is a shared experience among entrepreneurs across industries, whether you're selling drinking games or a CPG product or a piece of software or an app. I think everybody, gets feeling that way sometimes, and it's okay, and it's part of the journey, and for sure. So I really appreciate that, and just want to give you an opportunity to just shout out your website, your socials, anywhere people can keep in touch with you. They want to check out the games, buy something, or maybe look for an opportunity to partner with you or the company. Let people know how to stay in touch with you guys.
Awesome, yeah. I mean, our website's beerpressure.co.
Cool.
Our socials are Beer Pressure Game on TikTok and Instagram, and you can reach us at contact@beerpressure.co.
Awesome, man. I like to keep it simple. That's amazing. So yeah, man, I just want to say thank you again, brother. I really appreciate you coming on. I appreciate your insights. I don't get to talk to a lot of, people in this space. I do a lot of like CPG interviews and people in like apparel and things like that. So this is very unique, and I appreciate your insights and sharing some of your experiences. So thank you.
Sweet. Thank you.
Thanks, Shane. Really appreciate your time. Thanks, everybody.